This
people are joining
conference
in.
will now be recorded.
Let's wait for a minute, then we'll start.
Hello. Um,
Yeah, hi. Your voice is a bit low. Can you please check your mic?
okay. Is it audible now?
Yeah, but your voice is a bit low actually.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Anyway,
Is it audible now? Is it clear now? I can't hear you. Uh, I can't hear. Wait for a second. Am I audible now clearly? I cannot hear anything now. Hello.
Pesh, you're not audible. Yeah, tell me.
Okay. So yesterday and day before yesterday, I was using someone else's laptop because my laptop was on. It was damaged, so It went for repair. So I am trying to install the SQL, but I was not able to. I'm getting this error. Can I share the screen, please?
Yeah, sure, sure. Let me make you present. Yeah, please share your screen.
Here's the here's the error.
Unable to install SQL Server, exit code this, an installation package for the product cannot be found. The installation again using a valid copy of installation package. All right, so seems like the package you have downloaded,
Mm-hmm.
it's been corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can try to uh, download the fresh copy of the
Mm-hmm.
media, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then try to reinstall it. Okay.
Okay, I did actually. I tried it 2 3 times. So like I tried it to install download again through the link that you have shared, again through
Hmm.
2019 version, but it is giving
Hmm.
the same issue.
The same error.
Yeah, same error. You can see here.
Mm,
Here I have downloaded Dev 1 and Dev 2.
all right. Can you click on
I
start
have tried
once?
here.
Click on all apps.
Okay, wait. Click on all that. Yeah, here we go.
Uh, Scroll down. Mm, hold on. Yeah. Expand this folder, Microsoft SQL Server 2022. Click on the red icon.
This one.
Yeah, this one.
Shall I install it?
No, click on yes. It's
Oh
asking for
yeah,
admin privilege.
yeah. I clicked on yes.
Now click on SQL Server Services in the left hand side, top.
Okay.
All right. So seems like the services are not installed. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Do one
Mm-hmm.
thing. Click on Windows button one more time.
Mm-hmm.
In the search box, type services. Type services. Yeah. Open it. Now click one service and type S.
Click on
Click
service and type S.
any one of the service
Uh-huh.
and type S.
Okay.
All right. So you have all right. No, this is not the one. Do one thing. Click on Start again. Click on Windows button,
Mm-hmm.
and in the search menu, type uh, Control. No, you have put a one dot. Remove the dot. Yeah. Now type down
This control
Control
panel.
Panel. Yes. Control Panel. Yes. Open it. And now click on Uninstall a program. Under Programs, you have one menu. Uninstall a program. Left bottom. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
No.
Okay. To
Click on
click
Back.
on.
Just click
Yeah.
on Uninstall a program. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
hold here. Now hold here. Hold on here. Close
Okay.
all the other softwares or application softwares that is open in your system.
Okay.
Except this window, close all the other um, application
Okay.
softwares.
Okay. Okay. Done.
All right. Now scroll down. So here we see Microsoft SQL Server 2022 64-bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right click on that. So guys, this is for everyone, okay? So if you want to uninstall SQL Server, this is the way to uninstall. So you need to open Control Panel. You need to click on Uninstall a program. Then you need to make sure that all the other programs are closed in your system. Then make sure you're right clicking on the software called Microsoft SQL Server 2022 64-bit. Okay. Then click on uninstall.
So it is showing add, repair, remove.
Now click on remove. What is the version of operating system? What is the operating system version you are using?
I have to check. Wait. I actually changed my motherboard because it got short. So I need
Most
to
probably it's
check.
Windows 11.
Yeah, it's in the Windows 11.
Yeah, yeah. Close it.
It's coming like that. What should I do?
Mm, Now hold on here. Just a moment.
Yes, sure.
Now click on next.
There's
The
validation error.
validation errors on the page. Click on OK to close the box. Review the errors. There are no valid SQL Server 2022 features to perform this operation. Okay, so there are no services that's been installed actually. Okay,
Okay.
click on OK. Click on back. All right, click on cancel.
Shall I click on yes?
Yeah, click on yes. Now right click. Now again do right click. Yeah, click on uninstall and change. Uh, Click
This
on the
popped up.
first option. Click on the first option. Now click on repair. Mm, can you navigate to the package file here?
Sure.
Click on downloads.
Okay, the package files.
Mhm.
I thought this one. Downloads.
Okay, let's do one thing. Cancel it.
Mhm.
Close this one. Click on Windows menu. Click on all applications. Scroll down to SQL Server 2022. Expand this. Now here we have SQL Server 2022 Installation Center, the
Yes.
bottom one. Open this one. All right. Now click on installations in the left hand side. Here we should have repair. Click on maintenance in the left hand side. Here click on repair. So it's navigating to the same thing, right?
Yes.
In the downloads folder, do you have the ISO file? Can you check once? No, no, no. Hold on, hold on. Cancel it. Click on repair again. Go to C drive, program files, Microsoft SQL Server. Microsoft SQL Server. Now that's it. Until Microsoft SQL Server, now click on OK. Mm, all right, cancel it. Click on options, advanced. I don't see the, I mean, I don't, no, click on the left hand side, advanced. Resources.
Which one?
In the left hand side, we have resource. I'm trying to find actually the way to, do the uninstallation. because uninstallation is not happening through click on tools, maintenance, installation, click on planning, scroll down, not there. Click on installation one more time, click on new SQL Server standalone installation, the first option. Now do you have the media? Click on downloads.
It's not showing. Shall I click on
Hold
OK?
on, hold on. No, point it to Microsoft SQL Server, C drive, program files, Microsoft SQL Server. Yeah, now click on OK.
Not finding installation folder.
Mm, huh, all right. So you tried for the installation when? Today itself?
Yeah, yesterday and today. Since yesterday I'm trying because yesterday itself I got my laptop back.
Mm-hmm.
So since yesterday I'm trying.
All right. Do one thing, cancel everything. Cancel everything. Now remove the download media. Okay. Whatever media you have downloaded in the downloads folder, remove those media. Mhm.
Hmm.
Remove all the media. Yes.
Done.
And remove SSMS as well. All right. Now do a clean
Otisha
reboot of
composta
your
babo.
system. Do a clean reboot of your system and then try to re-download it again. Okay.
Okay, okay, sure.
All right.
Okay, I'm rebooting
Let's
it right
see
now.
now. All right. So let's start with the class then. Let me share my screen now. Let me know once the screen is visible.
Yeah, it's visible now.
All right. So we'll start from this slide. So in the last class, we have seen how we can connect to SQL Server using SQL Server Management Studio, and we have seen how we can create a new database, right? So we can simply create a new database by right-clicking on database folder, click on new database, and there we need to provide our database name, right? So this is the wizard, and we need to give our database name. Let's say the database name is XYZ, and then click on OK. That will create a new database here. Now we see that a new database has been appeared. So what is the physical existence of this database? How the database actually created? Now if you right click on the database and go to properties, all right, let's maximize it, and I go to files. So in files I can see a location. So this is the location of the database files. Okay, so the database has mainly two type of files. One is data file, the other one is log file. Now what is data file? Data file is holding all the data that we are saving in the database. All right. And what is log file? Log file is holding all the other required information associated with the data. That means, suppose I am inserting one record in the database. That means I am storing some information in the data file. So what are the associated information that we need to store in the log file? The associated information would be who did the transaction, when he did the transaction, what was the transaction details, when the transaction was saved. All the associated information with that particular transaction would be saved in the log file. Okay. So a database is constructed with two type of files, data file and log file, right? So these two files are actually creating a database called XYZ. Now, where my data file is created, the path is this. My data file location is C program files, Microsoft SQL Server, MS SQL 15 Hermes, MS SQL data. Under this location, the file name is xyz.mdf, and the log file location is also the same, but the file name is xyz_log.ldf. Now, if I go to the location, C drive, program files, Microsoft SQL Server, MS SQL 15 Hermes, MS SQL data. So here we can see we have the data file XYZ, right? Now if I go to properties of the file, so I can see the file type is MDF, .mdf. That is the file type. Okay. I can see another file, that xyz_log. What is the file type? If I go to properties, the file type is LDF. Okay. Now we understand that with these two files, my database got constructed. All right. So till now, what we have seen is, when we right click on database folder, click on new database, a new database appeared here. But what is the physical existence? What are the files associated with the database? That is this. Now you can understand, if something happens to these two files, my XYZ database will be corrupted, right? So my XYZ database will not be working anymore if these two files are impacted in any way. Okay, right? Now let's do one thing. Let's try to move this file. Let's cut, and there is a new folder. Let's try to paste it here. So I'm doing a cut paste. That means moving the files from one location to another location. Let's click on continue. The action can't be completed because the file is open server Herb instance. What is the meaning of
Hello, Deva brother, you're not audible.
Ah, yes, you are not audible.
Okay, I thought maybe my side it's issue.
No, no, Devabrata is not audible.
Okay,
Yes, Saurav, he is not audible.
that? Is why we cannot move.
mm, is going on.
He is having internet issue.
He's
Devabrata,
speaking, I guess.
yeah, he is speaking, but we can't hear.
Yeah, we can't hear.
Am I audible, guys?
No,
Am I-
no.
So your voice.
That
Hello.
Yes, Devabrata, you are not audible actually.
Now am I audible?
Now you are audible.
Yeah,
yeah.
Another thing, there is always a some ping ping noise, in from your system. I think notification
Mm,
sound that is quite distracting.
so
Some
is
type
it
of
appearing
That
now?
connecting or disconnecting sound.
that is if
Yeah,
anyone joins on the
yeah.
session. That's
If someone joins, that sound will appear. But I mean, is my voice okay now? I think there was
yeah.
some
Now
Yeah,
network
it's
Yeah,
glitch.
okay.
but we missed out after database properties you were explaining, like cut
All
paste.
right. Cut paste, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
after that
Is my
you
screen
were not
visible?
audible that time. Yeah, you
Yes,
Is my
it
visible.
is.
screen visible? All right.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is, so is it clear that these two files are associated with this database? With this database, these two files are associated. Is it clear to you guys?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And how we can check that what are the files that are associated with the database? We can check it by the database properties, right? By the database properties, we can see that which files are associated with the database. So as these two files are associated, if I try to cut the file and paste it to some other location, then this will not be permitted and will be getting an error that the action can't be completed because the file is open in SQL Server. Here is the instance name, Hermes. All right. The meaning is the file is, these two files are open with this instance. In other words, in the instance Hermes, we are having a database and this database is actually using these two files. Is actually using these two files. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Now, the now you guys can understand the association of the respective files with the respective database. And this is
Hey, you are
proven
not
that,
audible to us.
am I again not audible?
No, now
No,
I
no,
can
now
hear
you are
you.
very audible.
Now
Currently, you
I
are
can
audible.
hear you.
All right. So guys,
Modulating
if
your voice accordingly.
I mean the problem is I can always hear your voice.
Okay.
So if I'm not audible, just raise your voice. Huh?
Okay. Okay. Fine.
All right. So now the thing is, these database are connected with the respective files and we cannot move these files as the files are associated with the database. Okay. So now we understand that a database is actually having two files. One is data file and the other one is log file. Now, what is the responsibility of data file? Data file is holding all the information, all the data of the database. And what is the purpose of log file? Log file is holding all the related log information of the database. All right. Now, if I said holding all the data of the database, right? So, what is data? Let's say in the database, I am storing student details. All right. So, in the student table, I may have student ID, I may have student name, I may have student age, I may have student contact. These are the data that we are holding for student table, right? Now, when I'm saving a student information, let's say student ID is 1, student name is, let's say, Priya, student age is, let's say, 26, student contact is, let's say, mobile number is 9830303030, let's say. Okay, so this is the information I am storing. So this information will go to which file? Any idea?
Data file.
So this information will go to data file. All right. So when I'm storing this information, what are the respective log details? The log informations will be when the data was inserted, or in other words, transaction time. All right. What else? Who performed the transaction, right? What else? There could be other associated information as well. So let's consider we have these two associated information with this data, that when the transaction time, that means when the transaction occurred, and who performed the transaction. There are other n number of associated information with respect to any data. So these
So,
information are managed by SQL Server itself. We don't
uh,
manage this information. Okay.
sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt.
Devabrata,
Mhm.
actually, as you showed us student information is the data file. Can you give a small example that of log file? What log file can be? What kind of?
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. So when we are storing a data in the data file, so when we are storing a data in the data file, there are respective log information. So the log information will be managed by SQL Server itself. So what could be the log information? The log information would be transaction time. Transaction time means when this transaction occurred. The transaction is performed by which user, right? So all this type of information is called as log information. Okay. So these information would be saved in the log file. Is it
So
clear?
does it also show what changes were made in the data?
Yes. Change details.
Okay, got
So
it.
all the associated information with the data will be saved as log in the log file. So log file is not holding the data itself, but log file is holding the related information about the data. Okay. So in other words, we can say if we have the log information, we can replicate the data. Is it clear? Let's say we
Yeah.
don't have the data information. Let's say the data information is gone. Now, if we have the respective log information, we can replicate the data in the data file. So we need to have the sufficient information in the log file using which we can replicate the data information if the data is missing by any chance.
But we
Is it
will
clear?
need at least the base data, right, to make the
Yeah,
changes from the log file.
yes. We'll be needing the base data, that I'll come later. So that is a
Okay,
part of backup discussion. I'll come to that, right?
okay, okay.
So in this topic, I'm trying to explain like what is the purpose of a data file, what is the purpose of a log file. Now, is this two thing clear to everyone?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
All right. So now let me show you guys how a transaction happens in a database. Okay, it's a very interesting thing to understand. Now, what is a page? Do you know what is a page? In computer terminology, what is a page?
That's the output.
So a page is basically the minimum unit of storage in a computer.
Oh,
All right. And what is the size of a page? The size of a page is 8 KB. What consists of, so what is 1 KB? 1 kilobyte is what? 124 bytes. What is 1 byte?
124 gigabytes.
124 bits.
Sorry.
What is 1 bit? 0
102.
or 1.
Okay, zero
Okay.
or one.
So computer is all about storing information in bit format. If so, computer is all about storing charges, right? So computer works on 5 voltage and 0 voltage. Okay. If in a particular disk location means 1 bit. If that one disk location is holding 5-volt charge, that represents 1. Okay. If the same bit is not holding any charge, that is 0 volt, that represents 0. Okay. So bit can hold 5 volt or 0 volt. Bit means capacitor, right? Capacitor is nothing but a battery or a cell. Okay. So battery can hold 0 volt or a battery can hold 5 volt. So if it's
Not in
holding
between
0
that.
volt, sorry,
Not in between that. Like 3, 4,
no,
2,
not
1.
in between that. No, either it will hold 0 volt or it will hold 5 volt. If it's holding 0 volt, that will represent 0. If it's holding 5 volt, that will represent 1. Okay. So 1 bit is either 0 or 1. All right. So this way of calculation is called as binary. All right. So do you know what is binary? Binary is that it's having two values, either 0 or 1. What is the decimal value we are using? So we are using decimal values, right? Or numeric values. It's having distinct values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is total 10 distinct values. So using 10 distinct values, we are performing all the possible numeric calculations, right? So the entire mathematics based on these 10 values, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, true.
So this is called as decimal, okay? Decimal mathematics. And in computer, the entire computer is based on binary calculations. That is 0 or 1. Now one may ask me, then how we can represent 2? How we can represent 3? How we can represent 4? Because we don't have these distinct values 2, 3 or 4, right? How we can do that? They have their respective representation in binary. So let me give you some examples just to give you a better background. So 0 will be represented in binary as 0, 0. 1 in binary will be represented as 0, 1. 2 in binary will be represented as 1, 0. And 3 in binary will be represented as 1, 1. All right. Now what about 4? 4 in binary will be represented as 000. 5 in binary will be represented as 001. 6 in binary will be represented as 010. 7 in binary will be represented as
Zero one one.
011, right? And so on and so forth. 8 will be represented as 100, right? So that's the entire mathematical world for binary. So you guys can, I'll put this, let me just give you an understanding, just to do a homework. Binary calculation, right? So you can see in computer applications where binary numbers are represented only two symbols, 0 and 1. Okay, so you can, you know, uh, you can learn about binary systems. Okay, this is very interesting thing to understand, but we don't have to go deep into learning about binary calculations. We just need to learn about how computer is storing the information. All right, so I told all this information just for the sake of how computer is storing the data. All right, to give you the background. So one bit is 0 or 1. Then the collection of 1024 bits is making 1 byte. Collection of 1024 bytes is making 1 kilobyte. And a page is in computer access storage in a chunk, right? So when it's accessing a data in a chunk, so it's accessing via a page. So page is nothing but 8 kilobyte. So that is where we are coming in this term 8 kilobyte. And our operating system access a information via pages. So there has to be a minimum unit, right? For operating system, the minimum unit to access the data is pages. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Debabrata, can you please tell me that 0 volt and 5 volt concept? That portion is not so clear.
5 volt means the capacitor or the battery is holding 5 volt charge, and 0 volt means the capacitor or battery is not holding any charge. Okay, if it's holding 5 volt charge, that represents 1. So if you need to store 001, so there we need 3 capacitors, where the first capacitor will hold 0 volt, the second capacitor will hold 0 volt, and the third capacitor will hold 5 volt. That will represent 001.
What is capacitor
Capacitor is nothing but a battery.
and how it is related to storage?
So when we talk about storage or HDD, it's nothing but collection of capacitors.
Okay, okay.
So,
Right?
Devabrata, Saurabh here. You are
Mm-hmm.
saying that even that small micro SD memory card, let's say 12 GB, even
Mm-hmm.
that contains n number of capacitors.
Exactly.
Oh, okay,
So there are differences. So HDD holds magnetic capacitors.
okay.
All right. SSD stores silicon capacitors.
Okay.
So there are performance differences for magnetic capacitor and silicon capacitor. So that's a whole different topic actually. So for magnetic capacitor, there are refresh intervals. That means you need to refresh the capacitors after a certain amount of time. Else the capacitor will start discharging, and 5 volt will start discharge and it will reduce to 0 volt after some time. So you need to keep on refreshing the capacitors for HDD. For SSD, you don't, the refresh interval is very long. So for a longer period of time, it can hold the charge, right?
Devabrata,
Hmm. Yeah.
Saroj here. What do you mean by refresh interval? Means we need to refresh
Refresh
it or
interval
it
means,
does it?
yeah. So
Yeah.
refresh interval means the header, the read write header will check that, let's say after every 5 seconds, it will go through all the data and it will charge the respective information. If it's 0 volt, it will keep as it is. If it is 0 volt, it will keep as it is. If it is 5 volt and it is getting reduced to 4.5 volt, let's say, okay, because capacitor get discharged over time, okay. So if it's getting discharged to 4.5 volt, so the read write header will again charge it back to 5 volt to maintain the data,
So if
okay.
the hard disk is having some data and if it is kept outside the computer for maybe one
it
month,
will be
so
it will be of no use. It will after
okay.
some time it will lose all the information, and we call it data corruption, because you need to format your drive. So when
Hmm,
after some time you will be connecting back the hard disk to the computer, it will it will ask you to format the drive. That means it has lost the charges, okay.
okay,
So it need to format the drive. That means it need to do a reset, 0 volt to all the capacitors, then it can start writing into the data.
got it.
All right, so that's about the details anyway. So the minimum unit of storage in a computer is 8 KB or a page, okay. So let me go back to the slide. So you can see the minimum unit of storage is 8 KB, and in database store the information in consecutive 8 pages. They call it extent. All right, a extent means collection of 8 pages, okay. So that is a important question for interview as well. What is extent?
Collection of 8 phases.
Yes, collection of consecutive 8 pages.
So that will be 64 kb, right?
Yes, that is 64 KB.
64 KB.
So, so the minimum unit of data that accessed by a database is 64 KB. So database don't access single page at a time. Database access a extent at a time. That means 8 consecutive pages, 64 kilobytes. Okay, is it clear to everyone?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, clear.
So when we talk about database files, it consists with two type of files. So this is a database. Okay, this database consists of primary data file, or simple words data file. The extension is MDF. Now what is NDF? I'll come later about that. Okay, so MDF is having the data file. So database is having two files. One is data file, that is called as MDF. The other one is log file or transaction log file. The extension is LDF. Okay, so using these two files, a database got created. So that's the pictorial representation. Let me copy this thing. and put it in the class notes. Right now, master model, this information I'll take later. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, this is about how the data been stored in the file. Now, what about the storage system? So, to store the data, we need storage, right? And as we know, storage is the slowest device of the computer. We already learned this thing. The slowest device is hard disk. That is, what is hard disk? Hard disk is nothing but our C drive, D drive, E drive, etc. Right? This is the slowest device. The better than this is SSD, and faster than SSD is RAM. Faster than that is L3, then L2, then L1. Now we are storing our data file where? In HDD or hard disk, right? So when we are accessing the data files, when we are accessing a database, that means we are basically accessing the respective data files, right? Uh, when we are accessing a database, that means we are accessing this data file and log file in simple words. And these two files are stored in hard disk. Now, how we can improve the performance of the hard disk? If we improve the performance of hard disk, that means we are going to improve the performance of accessing the database. If we want to store a data in the database, or if we want to retrieve a data from the database, if we improve the storage device performance, we can improve the efficiency of the database access as well, right? Now, there are another aspect. There is another aspect about reliability. Now we are storing the files in this hard disk, right? What if my this drive got crashed? What is the reliability factor here? So we need to make sure two things. One is reliability, and the next thing is performance. So here we have some techniques using which we can increase the reliability as well as we can increase the performance. Okay, this is called as RAID levels. So these are techniques to store information in the disk. Now, in our computer, we cannot install RAID. Okay, so RAID is basically for enterprise level storage systems. What is enterprise level storage? In enterprise or in industry, we don't have a computer which is having the storage, the RAM, the CPU combined together. Okay, in industry, we have a separate device, a separate big computer dedicated only for storage. So it's managing only the storage. In that computer, we have nothing but storage devices. In other system, we have the combination of RAM and CPU, right? And combining these two hardware, we can create server. So in the industry, we have separate storage device and separate RAM and CPU. So this is called as compute. This device is called as compute. Okay, and this device is called as storage. All right, and when we talk about RAID levels or RAID techniques, that means we talk about applying RAID on top of storage device. Is it clear?
Can you just please explain how we are storing above storage?
So in enterprise or in the industry, we don't have computers made out with, I mean, for us, when we talk about having a computer, so when we talk about computer, that means we are having a CPU or cabinet, right?
Yeah.
Cabinet box. In the cabinet box, we have CPU plus RAM plus disk, right?
Yeah.
These three basic things we have in a cabinet that create a computer, right? But
Yes.
in the industry, we don't call it computer, we call it server, right? So when we
Okay.
call it server, server is not having anything called as cabinet box, all right? Like for our personal computer, we have a cabinet box, right? But a server doesn't have any cabinet box. It has blade. Blade means blade is nothing but a very highly configured hardware, all right? That is a very big, let me show you what is blade. So these are basically out of the syllabus, but anyway, let me teach you guys. So, you know, these are called as blade. So here we have three blades, one, two, three. Okay, this is a single blade. So like this, we can create racks. Rack means is like this. This rack is holding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 blades. So one blade may contain like 100 CPU, 1 TB of RAM, like this. This amount of, you know, information or this amount of capacity is there in a single blade. All right. And when we talk about data center or server, that contains the blade. All right. Now we can have two different type of blades. One is storage blade, one is compute blade. So storage blade is holding storage devices or storage hardware. That means it's holding the HDD and SSD, right? And when we talk about compute blade, it's holding RAM and CPU, right? So when we create server in the industry, the server is basically holding blade. The blade is holding storage device and compute device. Is it clear?
Yeah. Yeah. Now got it.
All right. Now, why I'm talking all about this? I'm talking these things because we don't have much scope of improvement in compute section, because compute is having CPU which is very high performing. We have RAM which is already very high performing. But in the storage area, we have HDD and SSD where we have this scope of improvement. Improvement in which terms? Improvement in terms of performance and reliability, right? So in terms of performance, we need better response time, and in reliability, we need better um, disaster recovery. Disaster recovery means if something goes wrong to the hardware, we should be able to recover our data. Let's consider if my hardware or my storage device or my HDD or disk got corrupted. Am I able to get the information? The answer is no, because there is no recovery technique applied on my disk. But in the industry, we cannot do we cannot run business with unreliable devices. We need to make sure that the storage device is reliable. How we can make sure this? We can make sure this by using RAID. Now, all the information I just gave you guys, this is just to give you a background why we need to use RAID levels. All right. Now, what is the full form of RAID? The full form of RAID is redundant array of inexpensive or independent disk. That is the full form of RAID. Someone call it redundant array of inexpensive disk. Someone call it redundant array of independent disk. All right. Now, there are 4 different type of RAID levels: RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, and RAID 10. What is RAID 0? So RAID 0 is
So there are only these four types, like in
yeah,
RAID technology.
yes.
Okay.
We have only these 4 types.
Okay.
So let's say uh, I want to store information 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. This is the information I want to store. Okay. So RAID 0 is saying, let's split the data into 2. Let's say it want to store the information from A to L. Okay. RAID 0 algorithm is saying, let's have, instead of having one disk, let's have 2 disks in parallel. Okay. And let's split the information into half. So A to L, it splitted the information into half, and it's storing the information parallelly into both the disk at a time. So AB is getting stored in the disk parallelly, CD is getting stored in both the disks parallelly, EF, GH, IJ, KL. So what is the benefit? The benefit is we are doing parallel write operation in both the disk. So our writing speed to the disk is simply getting half. So if we need to store the information from 1 to 10 into a single disk, we may need 10 milliseconds, right? Now, if we divide the information into 2, let's say 1 to 5, I'm storing parallelly into one disk, and 6 to 10, I'm storing the information into another disk parallelly. If it's a parallel work going on between two disks, then the 5 milliseconds and 5 milliseconds will be working parallel. So the entire operation will be completed in 5 milliseconds. Is it clear?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So what is the benefit I'm getting out of it?
Double speed.
Out of this two
It,
requirement, what benefit I'm getting?
it is saving 5 seconds of
Performance.
time. Like
So
in
I'm
Performance
five.
Five
getting
benefit.
the
milliseconds.
performance benefit, right? So
Yes. Yes.
initially it was taking 10 milliseconds, now it's taking 5 milliseconds. So I'm getting a performance benefit. So I'm getting the performance benefit at what cost? At the cost of more hardware,
Hmm.
right? Because in this case, we are using only one disk. In this case, we are using two disks, right? So we are getting a performance benefit in the cost of hardware. Is it clear?
Yes.
Now, this technique is called as RAID 0. In RAID 0, we are getting performance benefit, but we are not getting reliability benefit. Why? If this we have only one disk, the probability of getting a disk failure is 1 if we have one disk. If we are having two disks, the probability of getting a disk failure is double than this. Yes or no?
Yes.
If we lost any of the disk, can we recover the entire data?
No. No.
No.
Because 6 to 10 stored in second disk, 1 to 5 is stored in first disk. If we lost any of the disk, any one of the disk, we cannot recover the entire data, right? So
Mm.
we are
Right.
not achieving reliability here. In RAID 0, we are achieving performance in the cost of more hardware, but we are lacking reliability. All right. So that is about RAID 0 technique. Now let's come to RAID 1.
Sorry to interrupt here,
Mhm.
Devarutu.
Tell me,
Uh,
tell me.
are these A, B, C, D? These are the blades here in red zero?
No, these are data. Like 1 to 10, we want to store the information A to L. So I have taken numeric value in these slides. They have taken character values. That's it.
Acha. Okay.
Right. And this block represent a single independent disk. All right.
And can you just show me just that how RAID 0 use of RAID 0 in real time? What? How does it look like?
So so RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, and RAID 10. These are algorithms. Now,
Okay.
when I say algorithms, these are techniques to store the information in the storage device. Okay. So like we install operating system in our computer. So in our computer, what we install? Operating system.
Mhm.
Operating system manage what? Operating system manage CPU, RAM, and disk, right? In the same
Yeah.
way, in the storage system, they install RAID and they manage the storage device.
Acha.
All right.
Got it.
All right. So now I think it's clear about RAID 0. Now let's talk about RAID 1. So in RAID 1, what we are doing is instead of storing, instead splitting the data into half, let's store the entire information in both the disk. All right. So I want to store 1 to 10. Now I want to store the entire information in disk 1, the entire information in disk 2. So what amount of time it will take? 10 milliseconds each.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if it's taking 10 milliseconds each, that means in total it will take 10 milliseconds because both the operations are been done parallelly. Both are independent disk, right? We'll write the
Yes.
information parallelly in both the disk. Each disk it's taking 10 milliseconds. So total it will take also 10 milliseconds. So here, are we getting any performance benefit?
No, it is only reliability.
No.
No, no,
No,
no, we are not getting,
but
but it's a
this,
reliability,
mm,
But we are getting reliability benefit. That means
reliable. Yeah.
if the probability of a disk failure of this is 1,
We can restore from any one of
the
these.
combination of the disk failure is simply half of this, right? Because we are having an extra disk where we can access the data if one get failed. In the combination of both the disk, if one of the disk get failed, we can access the entire data from the other disk, right?
Yeah.
So we are getting the benefit of reliability, but we are not getting the benefit of performance. True?
And if sorry, Devarutu, sorry to interrupt. If I'll explain RAID 0 in a one sentence, what it will be?
RAID 0, no. There is no one-liner for RAID 0 or RAID 1. It's an algorithm, so there is no definition. You need to explain the technique. So
Acha.
if you need to explain RAID 0 technique, the simple thing is in RAID 0, we use more than one disk, at least two disks, where we split our data and store the information in the two independent disks, right? Where we are getting the performance benefit, but we are not getting the reliability benefit, because if one disk get failed, we would not be able to recover our data from the other available disk, right? So that's about RAID 0. Now in RAID 1, we are actually storing the same information in both the disks. So we are not getting any performance benefit, but we are getting the reliability benefit, right? So we are getting the reliability benefit in the
Yeah. Yeah.
cost of what?
More hard disk.
More
Hard
hard
disk,
disk.
but more hard disk.
Efficiency.
Performance.
The cost of efficiency.
So we are using more hardware to get the reliability, right? Instead of one disk, we are using two disks. This is about RAID 1. Now let's talk about RAID 5. So what is RAID 5? So in RAID 5, instead of using two disks, it's actually using three disks. All right. So let's say disk 1, right? Disk 2 and disk 3.
Three.
All right. So the technique is we'll split the information into half. Okay. That is, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In disk 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And in disk 3, we are going to store the information of a function, and the function will be any function using which we can recover our data. Let's say the function is sum. Okay, sum function. So sum of this position and this position will be stored in this position. So sum of 6 and 1 is what? 7.
7.
Sum of 7 and 2 is what? 9.
9,
Sum of 8 and 3 is what? 11.
11.
Sum of 9 and 4 is what? 13. Sum of 10 and 5 is what? 15. Right?
15.
So we are actually splitting the data into two, and we are having some additional information stored in the third disk. So in this technique, we are getting a performance benefit better than this. Okay, we are getting better performance than this. Why? Because we have three independent disks where we are storing 5 data in each of the disks. So entirely it will take how much of time? 5 milliseconds, because we are storing 5 information in each of the disk,
Yes.
right? So it will take 5 milliseconds. So we are getting a performance benefit. Now let's talk about reliability benefit. So in reliability, let's consider a situation where we lose one of the disk. Let's say we lose the disk
2.
2. All right. So can we get the information back for disk 2
Yes.
Yes, but
using using the other two available disk?
Myself,
yes,
myself.
but it will take
We
time to
can,
calculate.
yeah. So that will take time to recover, but
Huh.
we have the option to recover the data. That's the most important thing, right?
Hmm.
So how we
Right.
can get our disk to information? By using our function. What was the function? Sum. So we know
Some
disk
function.
3 is holding the sum of disk 2 and disk 1. So if we need to derive the value of disk 2, what is the thing that we need to do? Disk 3 minus
We
disk
need
1.
to minus 7. This one.
So that will give us what? 6. Next, disk 3 minus disk 1, 7.
7,
Disk 3 minus disk 1, 8.
8.
8.
Disk 3 minus disk 1, 9. Disk 3 minus disk 1, 10. So we were able to recover our failed disk. So we got our reliability as well in RAID
Mm.
5.
There were
In the same way,
Devabrata.
yeah,
Can it happen that the disk 1 and disk 2 simultaneously got corrupted?
yeah, there is a catch. Now there is a catch. So let's consider one more situation. Let's say disk 1 got failed. Okay, disk 1 got failed. So how we can recover our data? Disk 3 minus disk 2, 1.
Mm.
Disk 3 minus disk 2, 2, 3, 4,
Mm,
5. Right? So we can get our disk 1 back using other two disks. Now let's consider a situation.
sh-
We lost the disk 3. So can we recover the information of disk 3? Yes, we have the function, sum function. So 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15, right? So we checked one thing. If we lose any one of the disk, we can recover the lost disk. But if we lose any two disks, then the data cannot be recovered. There is no way we can recover the information if we lose two disks at a time. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the reliability is there. So from the example, you can understand we find a sweet spot in RAID 5, right? In RAID 0, we were getting only performance. In RAID 1, we were getting only reliability. But in RAID 5, we got both performance and reliability at the same time, right? Is it clear to everyone about RAID 5?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now let's talk about RAID 10. It is not RAID 10. It is RAID
Yeah.
10. All right. Now what is RAID 10? So this algorithm is, let's name the disk as disk 1, disk 2, disk 3, and disk 4. Okay. So disk 1 and 2 is using RAID 0. If you see, it's storing A2L. So basically it's using RAID 0 in disk 1, disk 2. All right. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's consider
Yes.
disk 3 and disk 4. It's also using RAID 0. See, A2L splitted into two disks, A2L splitted into two disks. So disk 1, disk 2 is using RAID 0 to store A2L. Disk 3 and disk 4 is also using RAID 0 to store A2L. Is this clear to everyone?
Yeah.
Now let's
Yes.
Yes.
consider disk 1 and disk 2 is creating a logical disk A. Okay, let's thought for a moment that this two disk is creating a logical disk A because it's storing information A to L, right? So these two disks are dependent with each other, right? So let's consider this two disk is creating a logical disk A. Same way, this 3 and 4 is creating a logical disk B. Okay, so disk A and disk B both are storing the same information A to L. Is it clear?
Yes.
Disk A is storing what? A to L. Disk B is storing what? A to L.
Yeah.
So disk A and disk B, they both are storing the same information A to L. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
So this technique is what? Nothing but RAID 1. storing the same
Oh.
information into disk,
Mm.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So they are using RAID 0, and also RAID 1. That is why it is called as RAID 10.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear to everyone about RAID 10?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is very, very important, guys. So I can assure you guys, 9 out of 10 students don't understand what is RAID. All right. And they don't understand the
Devabrata,
actual benefit. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
sorry to interrupt. Just show me that RAID 10 in this format, in this example, way the way you make us understand in RAID 1,
All
RAID
right.
2, RAID 0,
All right.
1, and 5.
All right. Let's say disk 4. Okay. So in disk 1, we are storing 1 to 5, 6 to 10. This two thing is combined, creating what? This two thing
Disk 3,
is this two
Disk
disk
A.
is creating logical
Creating
disk,
Eight,
disk A.
8 1,
disk
8
A,
0.
right?
Disk A.
Disk A. All right. Disk 3 and 4
Disk B.
storing the same information, and they are creating a logical disk B,
okay.
right? So at this level, they are using which algorithm?
RAID
0.
0.
RAID
Red
0.
0.
RAID 0, right? This level, they are using what algorithm? RAID 0,
Red
RAID
Same.
0.
0.
right? Right?
Yeah.
Now, combining both the disks. Now let's consider about
1.
disk A. Let's consider about disk A and disk B, right? So consider these two disks combined as disk A, these two disks combined as disk B. So disk A is holding what? 1 to 10.
Mm.
Yeah.
Disk B is holding what? 1 to 10,
1 to
One.
10.
1 to 10.
right? So this combination is using which algorithm?
RAID
RAID 1.
One.
1.
RAID 1, right? So
Yeah.
this is a combination of RAID 0. This is a combination of RAID 0. And the entire combination is basically RAID 1. That
Okay.
is why it is
Yeah.
called as RAID
1
1 0.
10.
1 0.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Clear to everyone?
Got
Yes,
it.
sir.
Got it.
Yes, clear.
So, Devabrata, Saurabh here, how does it connect to like our because there's an algorithm, right? So, this just good to know information or what?
It's a good to know information. So you
Oh,
never going to, when you talk about, so you guys are learning data science, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah,
You guys are learning SQL Server programming language, right? So
yeah,
you guys are never going to go through these information like one bit, one byte, storage details and everything, right? It's
right.
not a must to know information, but it's a good to know information to give you an edge from other. So
Yeah,
you
it is
know
actually
the in and out
interesting.
of the functionality. That will give you an
Mm,
edge. All right.
got it. Yeah.
All right. So that was it from storage perspective. So determining file placement and all. So this is very standard and straightforward thing. Like for storing these data file and log file, you must use separate disk for data file. You must use separate disk for log file. Why? so that you have the performance benefit. So if you are storing both the data file and log file in the same disk, one file need to wait to complete the write operation on other file. And if you store both the files in two independent disks, then you can write both in data file and log file parallelly, right? So it's always better to store data file and log file in the two separate disks. At the same time, it's always better to understand the requirement of data file. That means how much storage it is required to store the data file, what is the growth of data file. Let's say today it's 10 GB, and let's say after 10 days it could be 100 GB. So in 10 days the growth is 90 GB, right? So you need to estimate the growth of your data file, and you need to make the capacity planning accordingly. Now, what will be causing the data file growth? Obviously, the number of data that is going to be inserted in the database. Let's say in a Facebook user, if you are managing a database for Facebook, let's say the data getting inserted into a Facebook database, it's almost, let's say, 10 terabyte in 1 minute, let's say, right? So in the data file, it's growing 10 terabyte in every 1 minute. That's the amount of data getting uploaded in that Facebook server or Facebook database. So you need to plan your storage device accordingly. So you never run out of space. All right. In the same way, we can have the log file capacity planning as well, right? So the log growth also depends on how many users are getting connected to the database consecutively. How much transaction is happening in the database at a time. That determines the growth of a log file. Okay, so we need to plan the log file capacity planning as well. All right, so the same topic that I just discussed, ensuring sufficient file capacity. All right, okay, now let's come to the system databases. Let me see whatever things I've covered. So advantages and disadvantages of RAID 0, 1, 5, 10 I covered. What is log file? Purpose of log file covered. Extent covered. System databases I'm going to cover now. User databases I'm going to cover now. Different type of system databases I'm going to cover now. Resource databases I'm going to cover now. TempDB I'm going to cover now. All right. So create database and drop database using UI and script, that is already covered. So let me put this at the very beginning. All right. After that, we are going to cover adding database file and adding database file to a new file group. I'm not sure I'm going to cover all these things or not. But today we have discussed extensively about the fundamentals and concepts. That took a lot of time.
So we have tomorrow as well, right? Or is it a holiday?
No, tomorrow is our national holiday.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I'm taking a leave,
Okay.
right? I'm not sure
Okay.
about
We haven't got that.
the, I'm not sure about
Say
the
decide.
planning of. So I'm not sure about the planning. You guys need to talk with. I mean, Sanchita may be planning for some test or something that I'm not sure about. Okay, so
Okay.
you can check with Sanchita. But I won't be taking any class tomorrow. Okay.
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 So
But Devabrata, actually, of session one and two video, we have not got yet.
you can check with Sanchita. All
It
right.
is
It's
already there
I
uploaded.
don't.
It's uploaded.
in Google Classroom.
Uh,
It's there all.
All right.
Yesterday you
Let's
have
I'm
get
not
told
back to
that
the
seeing
class,
any.
guys. Guys, you can park those discussion with Sanchita. Let's focus on the class. Okay. Is it fine? Because Sanchita can answer those questions.
Yes, yes,
All
let's
right.
Yes.
continue.
Yes, sir, we can continue.
Hmm. So let's discuss about system databases. Now, what is system database? What is user database? If we open SSMS and refresh database folder, so this folder is containing all the databases. So out of all the databases, we can see a folder, system databases. So you can skip this one. This is for another configuration that I have done in my system. So this is not part of system database. Okay. So if you guys open system database in your system, you will see these four databases: master, model, MSDB, and TempDB. Okay. Now there is another database which is called as resource database that is not presented here. That is actually present in the binary location, or the location where the database software is installed. But this is also not accessible to us. But this is a part of system database. That is why we are going to discuss this. So what is master database? So before that, what is system database? So system database is basically the databases that is used by SQL Server software itself. So SQL Server software is itself storing some information, right? So it's not like it's running automatically. It's performing some operation. It's storing some information, right? So for that, it needs some storage places as well. So that is when system database come into picture. So there are total 5 system databases. First is master database. The master database stores all the system level configuration. That means all the information you see at the instance level. So master database, you can consider this database at the brain of SQL Server. So every system level information is getting stored in master database. Okay, is it clear? Is it
Yeah.
clear
Yes, sir.
about master database?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Next we have is MSDB. What is MSDB? It holds all the agent configuration data. Now what is agent configuration data? We have SQL Server agent node here. So here we can create different type of jobs. So the jobs will be running automatically in the instance. That is a different topic that we are going to learn. But all the SQL Server agent related information is getting stored in MSDB data. Okay. Now what is next? Next is model. So model database provides a template for new database. What is the meaning? Whenever we are creating a new database, okay, it's basically getting created from a copy of model database. What is the meaning of that? So whatever configuration we are going to make in the model database, those configurations will be applicable in the new database when we are creating a new database. That means whenever we are creating a new database, the database is created from the copy of model database. So it's the template for a new database. Let's say you want some configuration to be there whenever you are creating a new database. So you need to make the configuration changes in the model database so that whenever you are creating a new database, it's taking a copy from model database. That means it will be having all the information from the model database to the new database. All right. Next is TempDB. TempDB is holding all the temporary data. What is temporary data? So whenever we perform some operation in the database, it's holding the information in a temporary location. It's not like it's always updating the information at disk level. Okay, we may create some variable, we may create some temporary table, we may perform some sort operation, right? So for all these operations, it need to store the information somewhere temporarily just to perform the operation, right? So the temporary storage is tempdb. Now there is one thing to understand: all these databases are having the need to store their information temporarily, but they are not having a dedicated temp DB for every database. They are having only one temp DB for all the user databases, right? So temp DB is very critical here, because whatever database you see here and whatever temporary operations is having in place, so all the temporary operation for all these databases are happening in a single database, which is called as tempdb. That means we need to manage the performance of tempdb very well. If we fail to manage the performance of tempdb, then tempdb will work as a bottleneck in our SQL Server. So our database is performing very well, but tempdb is overloaded, right? Or let's say tempdb is stored in a device, in a storage device, where the storage device performance is very bad. Then the entire instance will start performing slowly, because all these databases are dependent on tempdb for temporary operation, right? So tempdb performance is very critical for SQL Server. So there are some, configuration standard that we need to maintain for tempdb, that I'm going to come next. All right, so that is about tempdb. Now next is resource database. So resource database contains system objects that are mapped to the system schema of the database. That means there are some system tables that is there in the instance in the master database. Now if I open master database and open system tables, so I can't see those tables here, but there are system tables in master database. Let me show you. Let's say select star from sys dot, let's say sys dot databases, right? So this table is a system table, right? So this table information is been stored in resource database. So all the system table you see, all the system table information is basically stored in resource database. All right, that's the usage of resource database. Any questions from this slide?
Devabrata, the database, right? Is there any graphical presentation of that, or is it only through the scripts we have to access it?
Resource database.
Any database?
So for other four database, we have graphical representation: master, model, MSDB, tempdb.
No, like database are stored in how the Excel format or cells, right? Like how is it stored? I'm not sure.
So I mean, we are
Is it?
going to discuss about the storage part later in the course, but to give you an answer, so within a database, we have
Mhm.
different structures or different
Oh,
objects. Okay, so we have tables. Okay, like this. We have, let me open this database, AdventureWorks. So we have tables.
hmm.
Okay,
Acha.
we have views. We have stored procedures. We have functions, right?
Okay, I thought database only means the tables part. So it is like everything related to
Related
whatever
to a
we have.
database. Yeah.
Relate to that. Okay. Okay, got it.
So let's move on to the next slide. So as we were discussing that TempDB is a very critical database when we are talking about SQL Server, right? So TempDB contains the temporary data for internal objects, right? So it occupies varying amount of spaces depending on the usage of user databases, and TempDB should be tested in real life workload, how the TempDB is behaving, right? Now, what are the standards for TempDB? The standards are we need to place TempDB on a fast and separate IO subsystem. That means a fast and independent disk to ensure good performance, right? We should split the TempDB into multiple files so that the multiple files can be accessed in parallel. So these things are basically to enhance the performance of TempDB, because
Hi, Devi.
TempDB is a very critical component in our SQL Server. All right.
That row versioning is like what? That data will be stored in row wise column, right? Row wise.
No, no, no. Row versioning is a very advanced topic. So if I start discussing about row versioning, you guys won't be understanding, right?
Okay.
So I'll discuss about row versioning in later part of the course. I mean,
Okay.
it's difficult to cover row versioning actually in this course, but I'll give you some outline. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So in the next part, we are going to see how to create user database, how to configure database options, demonstration of creating database, altering user database, managing database files, introduction of file groups, creating and managing file groups. So everything we are going to see in practical. Okay. So these are basically practical topics. Creating a database. We have seen how to create a database. Right click on database folder and click on new folder, new database. And we can create a database using create database command as well. Okay. This is about practical demonstration. Alter database. So I'll come to that, how to alter a database. Managing database files, also I'll come to that. Introduction of file groups, I'll come to that. Creating file groups, I'll teach you guys. Moving the database files, that's a practical thing. Practical, detach and attach, practical. All right. So we are done about theory part of this module. Let's go to the practicals. Okay. Different type of system database, resource database, TempDB. So till this point, we are done. Okay. Now how to add a database file and how to add a database file in a new file group. Let's see this.
There was a sorry to interrupt here.
Hmm. Tell
Actually,
me.
as we have learned how to create database and
Mhm.
system database, it will be there before or we need to create it.
No, it would be there during the installation only. It would be there by default. So
And user database?
whatever database we create, that is called as user database, and the
Okay,
databases which are present already, it is called as system database.
okay. So basically, the name of database is called as user database.
Yeah, whatever database we create is called as user database. Okay.
Okay, okay, got it, got it.
All right. So let's see about how to create a new file. So we have learned that in files we can see the files, right? So what if we need to create a new data file? What is the need? The need is, let's say that this data file got full and we need another data file to store the new information. Now to do that, we have a button called add here. Click on that. That will give us a new row. Let's say the data file name is xyz underscore data1. Okay. The type is data log file stream, rows of data. What is the file group? Primary file group. What is the size? Let's say the size of the file is 64 MB. Okay. Auto growth is unlimited. The location is this. And let's say the physical file name is xyz underscore data 1 dot ndf. Now the question is, we know the data file extension is mdf, the log file extension is ldf. Then what is ndf? So ndf means whatever file we are going to, so this two file is default. Okay, mdf and ldf is the default data file extension, default log file extension. Whenever we are going to add new data file and log file, we are going to name it in .ndf extension. Okay, so that is created. I have filled up the form. This is my logical data file name. The file type is data. The file group is primary. What is file group? I'll come to that in a minute. This is the size. This is the auto growth. This is the location. This is the physical file name with .ndf extension. Now I need to click on OK. Now if I again go to the properties and go to files, I can see a new data file has been added. So this is the default data file. This is the new data file located in the same location with this name. Let's validate this. So see
And we
the
don't
new
need
data file.
the log file for that new one.
No.
No? Okay.
So I'll discuss why we need only one log file. Why there won't be much benefit creating multiple log files. I'll come to that. Because log operation happens sequentially. We store data parallelly, but we stored log sequentially. Why? That I'll discuss in the later part of the course. Okay. So here we can see the new data file has been created. If I go to properties, I can see the extension is .ndf. The size is 64 MB. Okay, and this has been created right now. So
I have a question.
this is how. Yeah, go ahead.
Why we have created the database under the XYZ?
I didn't get your question. The database name is XYZ.
Yeah, but and again we created XYZ data one
Mhm.
in XYZ database file, right?
All right, all right, good question. So this is the logical name. This has nothing to do with the database. Okay, we can give whatever name we want in the logical name, provided the name is unique. We can give any name as we want. Okay, so instead of, so the default thing is whenever we create a new database, by default SQL Server create the data file with the database name, and they create the database name underscore log as the log file. This is the default behavior of SQL Server. But whenever you are creating a new file, you can name it whatever you want. There is no restriction. Okay. So answering your question, why it is XYZ or why it is XYZ underscore log? Because whenever we are creating a new database called XYZ, SQL Server name the data file with the database name, and it create the log file with the database name underscore log. All right. Is it clear? Hello. I'm audible, guys.
Yes, yes, it is
Yes,
clear.
sir.
I think it is
Yes,
logical.
you're
So
audible.
is that answered your question? All right, let's move on. So we understood that how to add a new file, right? Now let's see how we can add a new file in a new file group. Now what is new file group? This is nothing but a logical segregation of the files. So let's say, what is logical segregation? We have some files under the data folder. We can also have some files under this database files folder, right? So what is the benefit of putting a file under data folder or putting a file under database files folder? The only benefit is the organization or logical segregation for better management, nothing else, right? In the same way, in SQL Server, we also have these logical segregation using file groups. That means grouping couple of files under a file group. Okay, that's the only reason. Now, how to do that? Let's click on add and let's give a new name. Let's give data file 2. Okay, it's a row type file, and the file group is, instead of primary, let's create a new file group. Let's say the file group is test file group. Okay, so the file group is test file group. Let's give the file name as data file 2 under .ndf. That's a file 2 only, file 2.ndf. All right, let's click on OK. So we can see, let's refresh. Where is data file 2? No, sorry, file 2, right? So the physical file name is file 2. So the logical name is data file 2, located under test file group, and the physical name is file2.ndf. So here we can see the physical file 2 has been created just right now. Okay, so that's how we can create a new file, and at the same time we can create a new file group. Is it clear,
Shiva,
everyone? Yeah,
sorry to interrupt Saurabh here. So the
guys, one
file
one
and
one one suggestion: when you are interrupting, don't start with the term sorry to interrupt. So it's a live class. You are free to, everyone, you are free to interrupt me and ask your
okay,
questions. So don't need to apologize every time. Nothing to
okay.
apologize actually. Yeah, go ahead.
So the file and the file group which you created just now, the XYZ and the file 2, right? So can't we
Mhm.
see this here from the studio, SQL Studio, SQL
No,
Studio?
we are doing it using studio only. So this is a
But
wizard from the studio only. So in the studio, we are going to database properties. That is
no, but
this
we can't see it
feature of
here
studio.
in the Object Explorer. The
No, in Object Explorer, you won't be getting that option. You'll be getting that option under a database properties only. Because see, in the Object Explorer, you are getting instance specific details. What are the
Hmm,
instance specific details? Under the instance, you are having these many databases. And when
hmm,
you are talking about database files, this is what?
hmm.
This is the specific database specific details. This is not instance specific details. The database is instance details, right? But the files are database details, not instance details. So the files are associated with database, not instance. Not, I mean, it's actually associated with the instance, but not directly associated with instance. Its first level of association is with the database. That is why you can see the file details in the database properties only, not in the instance properties.
So even if we expand that, we can't see. Um,
No,
No.
No, if you expand, you will be
Hmm.
getting the database object details. But the
Okay.
database file level information, you need to go to the properties. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Devrata, I have a question here.
Tell me.
Yeah, when we created XYZ data one file in primary file group, it's stored in the
Mhm.
database in the where all the previous files were there. When we
Mhm.
created data file 2 in test file group, that also is
Mhm.
stored in database where previous files were there. Then what are the differences in these two files?
So as I said, it's just the logical segregation. There is no functional difference you are going to see in data file 2 and data 1. It's only the logical segregation. Let's say you want to perform some changes in all the files of file group 2. Now if you go to file groups, you have a file group test file group, right? Now let's say you want to make the changes of all the files in the file group test file group. Let's say you want to make all the file as read only, right?
Okay,
You want to make all the file as default. You want to make all the files as auto grow, right? So these operations can be done. Instead of doing it at every file level, you can club it together in a file group and make the changes at file group level. That will apply all the changes in the underlying all the files. So it will be easier for management, nothing else, right?
okay.
All right. So today we have learned till this.
yeah, I have a
Mm,
doubt here.
yeah, tell me.
Yeah, what is the use of that creating the files and that file group? Where?
Sorry.
What is the use of that creating the file and file group?
So let's say you are having a file. Let's consider now. Let me first show you guys how to delete files. Okay. So you just need to click on file and click on that particular file and click on remove. Again, click on that particular file and click on remove and click on OK. Okay. Uh, mm, 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 mm. All right. Yeah. All right. I'm getting an error removing the files because the file got filled up with some information. Let me give you another example.
And we can go to the file explorer and delete from there.
No, we first need
Oh,
to, I mean, once the file is filled up, you cannot
hmm.
remove the file. Okay.
Oh,
Now, let's consider this situation. So we have, by default, we have two files, right? Now, let's say the data file is placed in C drive. Now, let's consider a situation. Your C drive got filled up. Now, what is the next option you can do? Your database is
Okay.
growing and your C drive got filled. Then what is the
Yeah.
option? The next option is you need to create a new file, new data file, and you need to place it in some other drive where we have space, right? That's the option you are having. So that is when
Okay.
adding a file will be helpful. And
Okay.
what is the use of file group? The use of file group is when we have, let's say, 100 or 1000 amount of data files. For better manageability, then we can club those files under different file groups and we can manage those files using the file groups. That's it. All right.
Okay, okay, got it, got it.
All right. So if we drop the database, you can see all the related files are now being dropped. That means when we drop a database, the respective files of the database also get dropped automatically. All right. So that was it for today's class. We have done till module 3, and in the next class we'll start from here. So let me put class 4, right?
Sir, may you share our last day session homework?
Sorry.
Sir, may you share homework given in the last session?
This is the homework that I have given you guys. It's not a homework actually. These are the topics I suggested you guys to, you know, it's a good to know information,
Overcome.
right? So you can learn about these topics.
Hello,
Okay.
Devrita. My issue
Yes, sir.
hasn't been solved yet.
Which you are
Hello.
given in the
You wish
last yesterday, sir.
you want these topics?
No, sir. Yesterday, which you given.
Yeah, these topics I have given yesterday.
Sir, can you paste in a chat box?
Yeah, sure. Uh, yeah. So I'll be sharing the class notes with Sanchita. She'll be sharing the class notes with you guys. Okay. All right. So someone was telling that the issue is not resolved. I think the installation issue, right?
Yeah, the installation issue is still showing the error.
It's still showing the same error.
Yeah, it's still showing the same error.
So
So you are
Devabrata,
trying.
is
Mm,
if the traffic is over, can we leave?
yeah, you can leave the class, no issues. So
Okay.
thanks everyone. Good night. Let me just do some
Good night.
troubleshooting with spares. Yeah,
Good
good night.
night, Dev.
Good night, sir.
So Shreyash, you are trying to install SQL Server 2022.
Yes, I tried to install both 2022 and 2029. Sorry, 2009, 19,
Hmm?
but both didn't work. Both are giving the same error.
Same error, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like in your operating system, it's missing some DLLs. Okay. So
Uh-huh.
as the computer is been recently, maintained by some engineer, can you reach out to him
Uh-huh.
and tell him to refresh the operating system once?
Okay. So I have to refresh the operating system, right?
Because it seems like the operating system itself is missing some DLL files, system DLL files, which is
Okay.
causing the installation to fail. Okay.
Okay.
So is it possible to reach the engineer back, telling that
Yes, I can do it.
my operating system is not behaving right? So
Uh-huh.
can you please refresh the OS and you can try installing the software in front of him? Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That would be a better approach according to me.
Yeah, that would be actually better. Sure, I'll get back to you tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, that should work because the DLL it's referring is basically a system DLL, so it has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with the SQL Server itself.
Mm-hmm.
So refresh the operating system, and before installing any other applications, just try to install
Mm-hmm.
SQL Server first. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Sure. Sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks everyone, and we'll catch up day after tomorrow on Friday. Thank you.